Good. Okay, hopefully we're good now. I see the blinking red light. Okay, so take it away, Jennifer.
Hello, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, thank you. Let's see, I have my agenda here. Welcome. Let's see, we're going to start today with introductions via Zoom. Please, if you'd like, share with us, with the group, your favorite, oh yeah, there we go. Thank you, Erica. Your first and last name, your library, and what is your favorite Halloween treat? I've been thinking about this off and on all morning. I still don't have a good answer, but now's the time.
Mine is definitely a Kit Kat bar.
I'll take anything with chocolate. I keep thinking about my mom used to make popcorn balls at Halloween time. And that's what I want right now. So because I have chocolate all the time. So that sounds like something.
Homemade goodies versus something packaged. That sounds good. Yeah, candy corn, caramel apples, M&Ms.
Thank you, Megan. You're with me on the popcorn balls.
We've got a little bit of everything. Oh, America, that's good. Healthy pumpkin seeds. Yeah, the rest of us are thinking chocolate. Oh, this is fun seeing everybody's responses.
Yes. The divisive candy corn, which I'm with you, Nancy. I think it's good.
Okay, let me see here. Do you want to go over some meeting housekeeping, Jennifer, before we move ahead?
Yep. So please make sure your microphone is muted. You should have been automatically muted when you joined the meeting. Video is encouraged, but optional. Please go ahead and put any questions you have in the chat. If you prefer to ask your question anonymously, send it to Jennifer Choate, who's the chat monitor. Type private and then follow with your question. And then Jennifer will read it out, but not include your name, so you can be anonymous. If you prefer to ask your question verbally, go ahead and unmute and ask to chime in. I did this. Turn on the closed captioning, which I always appreciate. You can click the live transcript button on the Zoom toolbar and click show subtitle. This option may also be in the more menu on the Zoom toolbar if you're having a hard time finding it. This meeting is being recorded. Notes are being taken and the slides will be available. As usual, the RSA listserv will have an announcement when all of that is available for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jennifer.
Sure.
Before we recognize Anna, I did just want to mention too, as always, on the RSA support site, rsanfp.org, with the colorful banner at the top, we do have under the RSA board committees groups, and then the database committee. We do have the agenda for today posted towards the middle of the page. I really tried to mirror the slides after the agenda so we don't forget to talk about anything. But if you do want a copy of the agenda, it's on the web page there for your convenience. Okay. Let's go back to the slides. Before we get into updates with Nancy, Pam, and Tony, I did just want to take a few minutes and Kendall chime in, and really anyone else too, if you'd like to chime in. But we wanted to recognize Anna Hudson for her 4 years of service with RSA. She's going to be sorely missed, but we're happy for her going back to her roots in New Orleans, where her family is, and having an interesting new job at a new library, health sciences library. Is that right, Anna? Fill in the blanks if I'm forgetting any details. She might not actually be in here. I know she had an appointment.
Yeah, I think that's where she's going. Yes, is the health sciences library.
It has teeth and bones in its collection, so
There should be a fun job for her. Yeah, I'm sorry to see her go. She's been a great addition to RSA. We've taken the opportunity of having her and most of the rest of her staff all being basically new around the same time to kind of rethink a lot of what we did in member services. And then we're the pandemic has caused more rethinking. So she's been around for lots of changes in RSA and been a driver of many of them. So we will miss her. I have finished the job description. We are upgrading her position to be a true number 2 position in RSA. It's effectively the assistant director position, but we can't call it the assistant director position because that doesn't work with Rails already has an assistant director. So we can't call her an assistant director. That position we should be advertising hopefully within a month. We have to, because it's a new position, Rails has to run it through some benchmarking and things like that. So we will be posting that when it is ready, and y'all will hear about it at that time.
We're hoping to have our candidate in place sometime, would you say, Kendall, in the first quarter of the new year?
Yeah, I think that's probably the most realistic start time we can get. We're definitely not going to have anybody here before Christmas. The timing just doesn't work out. We've actually hired a couple of people that started in January, and we had the process well in hand prior to now, and they still couldn't start till January. December is basically a wasted month when it comes to work. So I think everybody knows that. So you're not getting somebody to move over Christmas break. It's just not happening.
Sure. A couple other things we'll celebrate. We do have new and upgrading RSA members. So as you might have saw on the listserv yesterday, Beardstown Guard Grade School with the Workflows Code BB2, they're a new branch of an existing member, the Beardstown High School. They were an LSAP grant automation recipient. They finished cataloging and they're live with circulation and holds. Farmer City Public Library, Workflows Code FC. They're an existing RSA member at the union list level. They too are an LSAP grant recipient. They're currently cataloging and they're not yet live for circulation or holds. Oh, no worries, Anna. You just missed our glowing words about you. Anna is just now in the meeting here. I'll show our slide again. Thank you, Anna, for all your service over the past 4 years. We will miss you.
That was almost my plan. No, I'm sorry. I just got held up a little bit joining, but thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. New Windsor Public Library is another new member, Workflows Code NW. They too received the LSAP automation grant. They're nearly finished cataloging. They're going to start entering patrons soon, not yet live for circulation or holds. ROVA CUSD 208 Elementary School. This one's a little bit tricky because the high school at ROVA pulled out of RSA, but the grade school joined. So they got the high school's workflows code to help cut down on the cost. About half of their collections catalog, but they unfortunately don't have the staff or the time to keep making progress cataloging. So they're not circulating or doing holds, but they plan to remain a member for now. And they're hoping maybe the staffing situation can change, or maybe they can get some time to catalog perhaps over the summer. So their project is on hiatus, we will say. Service anniversaries. Rhonda has been with us 10 years as of this month. Way to go, Rhonda. Lisa has been with us 5 years as of this past July. Yay, Lisa. If you celebrated your service anniversary since the May 20th database meeting when we last met, if you'd like to, please share in the chat so we can congratulate you too. But that should be the anniversaries on our end. Oh, that's great, Jennifer. 21 years.
I have one addition to your membership update, Erica. Illini Bluffs Middle School, I believe it was the middle school. Illini Bluffs had 2 automated branches, and the middle school has dropped out of RSA and the high school stayed in RSA. So that would be B6. So B6, you will not see that the items are still in the system. We'll be removing those shortly. We just want to make sure they don't need a shelf list or anything, but but B6 is no longer in the system anymore. It's just the high school at B5.
I'm sorry I forgot them, Kendall, but yes, they they did pull out. Thank you for chiming in. Okay, I think we're ready to move to Nancy George, the Rails Cataloging Services Coordinator. So take it away, Nancy. And you should be able to share your screen if there's something you'd like to share. If not, that's okay too.
Okay, I don't have anything to share. I just wanted to give you some update, that's all. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nancy George, and I am Rails Cataloging Services Coordinator. I'm going to give you an update on cataloging services from Rails. First, I wanted to thank you, RSA, for giving me this opportunity. Now, I would like to talk about the cataloging training opportunity from Rails. As you know, Rails offers basic cataloging training opportunities for our members, including repeating courses and specialized supplementary sessions. So for our next training course is on classification basics, understanding Dewey Decimal Classification, and Web Dewey Essentials. It will be in January 2023. So this will be a 4-week course using a Moodle developed site, and it runs from January 9th through February 6th. So this course will be a strong foundation for newer catalogers and technical services staff, as well as a great refresher for more experienced catalogers or anyone just wanted to understand more about library classification, DDC call numbers, and Web Dewey. So this course will be listed in L2 as soon as possible. For more information, watch for it in the Rails e-news and emails from Rails Tech Services email list. In spring, we are planning to offer a cataloging training with an outside presenter on BibFrame. We don't have a lot of details right now. As always, watch for it in the Rails e-news and emails from us. In summer, we will be offering a course on cataloging print monographs using RDA. You will get more details on this later. That's what mainly about the cataloging training opportunity for this quarter. And all of these courses will be listed on in L2 when those are scheduled. So you would be able to register for those events. I also wanted to inform you that we continue to develop new courses and maintain the content of existing courses. So if there is a cataloging topic you are interested in, and if you want us to offer to our members, you can reach out to me. We will do our best to offer those trainings or webinars. Apart from training, we support other cataloging related programs. As you know, I hope many of you already aware about our word language cataloging services program. I believe few of you requested this service. I remember Normal Public Library requested the service. So I don't know anyone else at the top of my head. I don't remember, but you guys are using it. So I'm happy to see that. And it's if you're not aware about this, it's a statewide cataloging support program for Illinois libraries. This service provides supplementary cataloging, particularly when original cataloging or word language cataloging is needed. So we will provide full level bibliographic records to the items you send it to us. This program is intended to supplement, not to replace your consortia centralized cataloging service. And as you know, this service covers all languages, and the materials should be in your regular collection. And there's no cost to libraries to utilize this service. It's absolutely free for all Illinois libraries. And there are a couple of updates on the policies of this service. There was a limit on the number of items you can request in a month, but we recently changed that policy. Now there is no limit. You can send it to us as many as you wanted. So another important update is we can now accommodate your local cataloging practices in the records. Recently, I worked with a CCS consortium to create a workflow to accommodate their local practices. So whenever their libraries are requesting this service, this would be helpful for them. So if your consortium would like to create something like that, I'm happy to work with you. So that's another main update. Your local cataloging practices, we can accommodate now. You can find all these guidelines and procedures about this service on our website. I can provide you the link here. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have, or you can reach out to me individually anytime. If you have any questions regarding the cataloging services or suggestions, do not hesitate to contact me. I can provide you my email.
Thank you, Nancy. It sounds like there's lots going on. I'm excited about the BibFrame training course. I know you don't have the presenter yet, but still,
No.
that's a topic that I know
Yeah, I am working with them.
it's hard to
outside.
keep up on the developments and that.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's great that that's going to be a training. And that's exciting. There's no more limit how many items can be sent. And then, yeah, we'll think about, I may reach out to you, Nancy, when I get to a little bit better spot in my workload. But if we could have some local practices with your world language cataloging service, I know the CMC has worked with us a little bit for some of the things that we do on our end. So that's a great offer. Thank you. I know everybody does things a little bit differently. So that's appreciated. You're willing to be flexible and try to accommodate us.
Thank
Does
you.
anyone have any questions
Yeah.
for Nancy? Okay, thank you again for joining us. And remember, Nancy's email is in the chat. So if you do think of something at some point, feel free to reach out. Thank you, Nancy, for joining us. Okay, so next up we have Dr. Pamela Thomas to give us an update on what the Cataloging Maintenance Center, the CMC, has been up to.
Hi, thanks, Erica. Okay, I'm just going to give you some numbers. So if you don't want to listen to numbers, just ignore that. And this is just covering what we've done this quarter. So from July 1st through the end of September. And for those of you who don't know anything about the Cataloging Maintenance Center, we are funded through the Illinois State Library, and we provide services for the entire state of Illinois. So my team cataloged 252 items, 145 original and 107 enhanced. We have 2 database cleanup projects we're working on with Prairie Cat. They either enhanced or identified as merges 1,936 bibliographic records. For the Alma cleanup project, we have 3 full-time temporary staff working on that. They merged 1,004 records, deleted 209, and edited 6,854 records. I taught a cataloging 3D objects, kits, and realia class. 27 were registered in L2 and 14 completed that class successfully. For our Moodle classes, you have to earn 70% of the points. And I also taught subject analysis this quarter. We had 15 registrants and 6 completers. And don't think I'm a hard grader. It's just that people don't actually do the work. So really probably only 6 of them were actually turning in homework. We had 2 online with the CMC and a Prairie Cat user group presentation. We had 106 live attendees for those. We had basics of digitizing photographs with 31 live attendees. Don't go changing the new 334, 340, and 563 marked fields. We had 49 live attendees, and then we had 26 attend our live Pug Day presentation. And we always record those, are online with the CMCs, and they can be found on our website if you ever want to watch a recording of a past presentation. We had a great presentation today, so if any of you guys were there, thank you for attending. For the metadata project, there were item level uploads 2 with 1 compound object consisting of 29 items. And then 14.25 hours were spent on transcription work. We merged 276 books and 4 ebooks in connection. World languages that we cataloged were Chinese, Spanish, French, German, Arabic, Korean, Malay, Indonesian, Latin, Portuguese, and Quechua. Sorry if I mispronounced that one. The CMC staff completed 18 continuing education courses. We reviewed 67 books, 4 continuing resources, 6 serials, 2 other formats, 5 mixed materials, and 2 visual materials, and 1 map. It's a review of bib records that were cataloged. We created 20 name, 1 series, and 4 title authority records. Since there are still libraries in Illinois who don't know that we exist or what our services are, I have created this mapping project where it's a spreadsheet identifying the libraries we've provided service for and the libraries we haven't, and we've just started contacting those libraries who've not used our services to tell them what we can do for them for free. Going back to the Carly cleanup project to date, so that project started last September, so September of 2021. 3.1 million records have been deleted or merged, which leaves 7.1 million records to go, but we won't focus on that. And our 3 temporary full-time staff continue making good progress on that. And then for the Prairie Cat cleanup project, to date we have either upgraded or created or identified as merges 16,000+ of the 35,000 bib records. So we will continue making progress on that as well. We have upcoming Moodle courses in the spring. So RDA book training is January 16th through March 10th. We've got a cataloging basics class right now. I think it's in week 3 that Eric McKinney's teaching, but that one's full. So we added another section in March. So that's going to be March 27th through May 5th. And then RDA video and audio recordings training is May 8th through June 23rd. And I'll put those in the chat with the links to L2. And we are always looking for Moodle course suggestions if there are courses that you want us to offer. And it could be something like a 2-week class, it doesn't have to be 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever. And then we are also looking for topics for our fiscal year 2024 online with a CMC. So if you have any great suggestions, we will be glad to incorporate those. And I'll put my email in the chat as well. Hopefully that works. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask.
The CMC staff, you've been sleeping, right? It sounds like you've been super, super busy.
No,
Lots
I
to
don't
do.
allow them to sleep, and they all hate me now. We do have, so I have 8 staff. One of them is super part-time. She only works 10 hours a week, but we have a nice full staff, and they've just been, yeah. I did very little. I did some of those merges, but I did very little of any of those stats. So it's my team that's doing all that work. Well, I do teach. But yeah, we've definitely been busy, and really looking forward to this year to see what we can accomplish. And we're going to be at ILA. So if anybody's there, please stop by our booth, and you can get some free CMC swag. It's really rulers and tape measures and notebooks, but it's still exciting.
It's useful.
It is
It's
useful.
useful,
Well,
free
it has to be
stuff,
useful,
yeah.
or they won't let us hand it out.
Sure.
So it has to be an educational tool. I
I'm
tried.
happy. I'm happy that you did another scheduling of the cataloging basics course because I know
Yeah.
that filled up so quickly.
Well, I had capped that originally, I think at 30, because Eric hasn't taught before and I didn't want him to be in the land of overwhelm. But I also warned him that you might have this number of people register, but they're not all going to participate because that's just the way life is. And we can't make people turn in homework. If we could, and if I ever figured that out, we would start implementing that. But I think we tweaked that back up to like, I think he's got 37 students right now, but for the one in March, I've capped it at 50. I think there's 8 seats available. So if you are really interested in that, I would say hurry up and and register. And we might offer that again this summer. But yeah, it's definitely been really popular. And I talked with him when I hired him last year about, I said, we really need a basic cataloging course to offer. And I'm like, I'm already teaching 4 classes. I don't want, I can't teach another one. He's like, I can do it. Yeah. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I told him he was making me a little anxious this summer because I wasn't sure if it was going to get done. I'm like, oh. But he got it together. It, it
takes time.
Yes. Yeah. He's used Moodle. I mean, he understands Moodle, but it takes you more time than you realize when you create a course just from scratch. So, but yeah, I think it's been going well. So, and he's really flexible about. He's like, yeah, if you need me to teach again, just let me know. I'm like, yes, please. Because he had like 17 people on the wait list. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, I'm not adding 17 people to, the ones you already have. I'm like, we've got to create another section. So
sure.
So yeah, but again, if you guys have any ideas, because he's more than willing to teach other things too. So it'll probably be Eric teaching, not me. But we want your suggestions. So.
Does anyone have any questions for Pam or Nancy? Anything that you've thought of? We will do our best to promote things on the RSA listserv.
And I appreciate that.
To keep you informed, because I know it can be difficult to keep up on all the different emails. So we will try our best to keep you informed from our listserv.
And we try to, doesn't matter what consortia or library system, because we are here for whoever works in an Illinois library. So we are not biased at all. So, yep.
Thank you, Pam. For
all right. And I've got to run. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate you and Nancy popping in. So thank you. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Next, let's do an RSA support site update with Tony. So Tony, when you're ready, take it away.
Okay, I am going to share my screen for this. I find it easier to prepare a site than I do a PowerPoint because I'm always working on a site. So let me get that screen share started. Okay, and it's been a while since I last came to the database committee, so this is just an update from the summer and what we did on the website for the summer, as well as kind of looking forward when the site will come out, when the site will at least project how we're looking at the launch and everything. So I'm just going to scroll back in time here to spring, summer 22. Essentially, the content load was completed where at least all of the user cards, things like holds, everything that kind of relates to circulation and member services, was that whole part of the website was complete, as well as like documents spanning most areas. Things that weren't uploaded are currently linked to the Cersei Dynex version of the site, but nice thing is like it's a very functional site now. So much so that we actually began user testing. You probably saw some emails come in about that, and so User testing was really fruitful. It was a good chance for me to connect. I sat down with individually one-on-one with 8. Well, I had scheduled 8 different libraries, and we ended up conducting 6 sessions that were each a half hour. And it was all volunteers. I'm eternally grateful to the volunteers because I didn't have any candy I could give out through Zoom or anything like that. But again, I have a whole report that I'm preparing to share with the website committee in a couple weeks. So we actually, I would say, like, the training on the new website really hasn't taken place too much. So I'm going to actually have to edit that and push that back to kind of more present, like winter time. But so far we actually have so far we've actually we're in a really good place to kind of get the site online this winter. After meeting with Kendall, I really just, a lot of the lessons learned from this user testing was, just ways I could hyperlink content to, let's say you navigate to one page and you were perhaps looking for something about, you wanted to find something about a policy like Cards for Kids or something like that, to be able to put a hyperlink that brings you back to the Cards for Kids documentation that you really need. And so there were a lot of like insights because of these user testing questions and some of the feedback we received. So it's essentially, we're looking really good to finish the content load in the fall and winter with cataloging content. There's some small displaying issues that we'll also be fixing just to make sure it displays well on all screens. But really, what comes up next is actually really exciting. I'll read this off a little bit more verbatim because, really, once we actually get this site in people's hands, I'm sure there'll be another set of changes to do. But what Kendall and I kind of discussed is that we will launch the new site. It's kind of like a soft launch where it'll exist alongside the current rsanfp.org site, in early 23, with some of the pages possibly saying, like, on the old or current site, if you will, we'll just route you to the new site saying, please see the current site. And so more and more folks will be routed to this new site that you're looking at now. And so some things we haven't quite finished or like figured out are like the domain setup, like what is it actually going to be called up here? Things like that are really important, kind of big decisions when you think about it. Shouldn't just be left to chance. We got to kind of put some thought into that. And then sunsetting some areas of the current site, routing areas to the new, routing users to the new areas. There's a potential that we will, once we have the cataloging content loaded, to enlist some catalogers that may want to try it out. So, if that seems interesting to you, if you want to see what it entails, there will be that website committee meeting in just a couple weeks. I'm actually going to post a link for that now. You have to be logged into L2 to register, but the website committee meeting is a great chance to learn what a user test even is. If you've never done one for your library's website, it's a great chance for you to get a little background on what that is. Because these one-on-one meetings, they were short, but I think really, really valuable. And I recorded them so that I could go back afterwards and see, see a screen share, it's almost like a guided co-browsing session where one person, just like me, the observer, just kind of watches another person who's fresh to the site use the site for the first time. So, and then of course, like just some of the other things I'm putting on my list are just like decide on what content goes on the front page for the news, in terms of like what's coming, what is the news of the day for RSA when we do launch the site, other time sensitive information like committees and pages, make sure all that's up to date. But yeah, it's looking really, I would say if you want to come to this website committee meeting, you're welcome to come and get a tour of the site, right? What we usually do is we go around and, mostly everybody at that committee meeting has already seen it. They may have tested it. They may just have the URL, so they've clicked around on their own. it's a good chance to kind of get in the get in contact with me a little more directly, and then you can also offer feedback. But that's where we are right now. I mean, we're looking really good for in these next few months, kind of a launch. I would say development has gone a little slower just because of because of the cloud source OpenX. There's been a lot of changes to RSA Cat, which means there's a lot of like feedback and things that come our way for changes that will inevitably ripple into the progress on this project. But I'm pretty much ready to delve in headfirst for the rest of the winter months as going forward. So that's pretty much my update. I probably went really fast, but I'm definitely open for questions, and there'll be a lot more to talk about at the website committee meeting if anyone is interested. So please join me in a couple weeks here.
Thank you, Tony. It's always great to see the progress that's been made. And I'm hoping, yes, I actually did a little poll here. Let me see if I can share my screen and launch the poll. But I thought I'd just test the waters and see if anybody in this group might be willing to participate in some user testing once we have cataloging content loaded. So let me go ahead and launch it. I'm not asking for names, so this is completely anonymous, but I'm hoping that maybe some of you would be willing to do it. And Jennifer, that's a great plug you gave for it, that it was easy and painless. Okay, so we do have, good, we have some interest. Okay, let me see if I can end the poll and share the results. Okay, so we do have some interest potentially in user testing it, which would be great, because I certainly don't want to have Tony load all the cataloging content and then you as the members have trouble finding things. So that would be appreciated if anybody's willing to. How long are those user testing?
They're only a half of an hour, at 1/2 hour, and often they will run a little even shorter than that. And yeah, and the nice thing is we can run it on a test site, or we can run it on a live site. Logistically speaking, if it's delayed getting the content up, but I think the content will be pretty quick to load in and organize. So if we have to do one round of testing after we have it loaded, and then another round, make some changes, and then maybe a couple weeks later ask for some other testers. There was a great response from the first listserv I sent out. 8 people was more than you really need. They recommend, most user experience places recommend you do 5 testers for a version of the site. But since this is a subsection of testers, maybe we even need fewer.
Stay tuned to the listserv, right? If we want
Yes,
some testers,
if we do
there'll be
testing,
a
we'll
call
reach
on
out.
there. Yeah.
Excuse me. Yes.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Tony? It's coming along. Okay, thank you for joining us, Tony. Like I said, we always appreciate knowing what the next steps are and what's been done so far. So that's great. Okay, let me see if I can stop that. Let's see. All right, is everyone able to see the slide okay? Okay. We did the poll. Okay, I thought next Kendall would give us an update on the new item type standardization and cleanup projects. Take it away, Kendall.
I can do that. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I had my camera off before. I was doing some coding, and you didn't need to see the confused look on my face as I was trying to do that. The plus side is I just uploaded a new version of the search results tabs that cut out about 10% of the lines in there and made it about 25% smaller. So it speeded it up just a little tiny bit. To give you an idea of how big RSA is, there are about 9,200 lines of code just to break out the tabs for all of you individually. So, and that was all hand coded first by Tony, And then I went through and double checked everything and reformatted some stuff. So yeah. All right. So I wanted to give you an update on the standardized new materials project that we started at the end of August. This was a long time coming. I mean, we talked about it for over a year at users group, voted on it, took us the summer to get everything ready to go. We rolled it out basically on the 31st of August, and we are making much faster progress than I had anticipated. Right now, 97.9%, it's actually more today because James has talked with the library today. But as of midnight yesterday, it was 97.9% of all new materials are now using the new standardized item types. That is 48,063 items, which is fantastic. I figured we would still be chasing libraries down towards the end of the year and into January. We only have 3 libraries with legacy materials left. And so one of those, the person who knows the answers is out on medical leave. So we hope that by close of business tomorrow, that will be down to 1. And then once James gets it to that, then we will be going back and circling back around to finish the cleanup of the items that have been assigned to a new item type for over a year. There are 8,002 of those. When we started this process, there were 15,500-ish. So we've cut that almost in half. And there are, let me see, 60 libraries that have 1 or more items that are over 12 months old. Again, James will be calling those libraries. And I do want to thank everybody. We had 90 libraries that James has worked with and or did this themselves, one of the 2. The phone calls with James were generally 10 minutes or less. He could get everything done in that short amount of time with you. And so we'll be continuing to work on the things older than 12 months. But again, I am beyond pleased with how quickly this has gone and how much cooperation we've gotten from all of you. So thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Beep. All right. Some libraries indicated that they weren't going to use the new standardized item types on the survey we did this summer, and some indicated that they were going to use them. And as we've been calling people, we have found out that the reason why we called everybody is we wanted to double check, and that's probably a good thing we did, because some people had either changed their mind or didn't quite understand what we were asking. So here is a list of the 12, I believe, new standardized item types and how they're used. And if you are currently not using any of these, and so there are 93 libraries using these codes. If you're one of the libraries who's not, these are the codes we could assign to you. If you'd like to use any of them, send a ticket to the help desk and we'll work with you. We have to add these to your drop-down menus for cataloging. We have to set up circulation rules. We have to set up hold rules if you are doing local or system-wide no holds. And depending on the library, we also have to set up a default price and a processing fee. So there are some things that we need to do before you want to check these things out to your patrons. But in any case, if you these are the new standardized codes. If you want to use them and they aren't currently in your drop downs, send a help desk ticket and we'll take care of it. Beep. Almost everybody's done with this, but James will be making more calls to people he's already talked to help you out, like I said, with the libraries that have things that are 12 months or older. The other thing that we're doing with those items is we are sending you what we call a denooing report, is basically a report in Blue Cloud Analytics that takes the item types that you in your library are using and limits them based on the time frame that you normally convert from new to regular item types. So you may be using new book, NBK, and that's in 3 months you convert those over to book or something else. Maybe your new DVDs are new for 4 months and your new juvenile whatevers are good for 6 months and your playaways are good for 8 months, right? So we contact you and we find out how long you're using each of these codes and how long they should be new in your library. We plug all that into this super mega report we have, and it spits out at the beginning of the month a shelf list of everything based on the item type and how long it normally is new in your library, a shelf list for you to correct. So you probably will get an email or a call from Doug if we have not set one of these up for you already. I know he doesn't like to set these up until we know for fact how long you want something on the report. So you'll be getting those. And then I believe the next slide.
I think we covered this stuff.
Yeah, I think we did all this. We wrote these slides a couple days ago, and James has had great luck getting a hold of everybody, which is great. Yeah, I went over all that too. Yeah. So the biggest thing that I think for everybody to know now, since almost all of you have already converted over, is that for schools in the summer, that'll probably be the end of June or early July, we are going to convert any school that's using new book, is generally all schools use either new book or new book age. We will convert all the school new items back to standard items over the summer. But for public libraries, we're going to do that at the 13-month point. So the standard in RSA is things can be new for up to a year. And when we did the survey, there was not a single library in RSA that had things new over a year. So what we're doing is on the 13th month, and that's from item creation date, we will start running a script probably in a couple of months, because by the time James goes through and denews the 8,000 items that are older than 12 months, that'll give us a little breathing time before we actually need to start running this report. But basically what'll happen is that report will convert items in public libraries as shown on screen. And for most libraries, that's probably correct, but I'm sure there are some of you who take your new book and maybe you're not calling it just book. You might be calling it something else. Same thing with DVD. Maybe if you use DVD PG-13 or DVD restricted or whatever, us converting it to DVD is not what you need in your library. So the fix action to that is don't let things get 13 months old or older. And you will be getting, these items will show up, like if your DVDs should be converted from new to standard items at 6 months, you're going to get those same list of DVDs that are still in NDVD or NDVD-H for 7 months before we do anything to them. So we're giving you plenty of time. So please denew them when you get the list. I don't expect when we do these, when we do this automatic move that there will be very many things that appear on it. I have a question. Let's see.
Do you want to read the question, Kendall?
Sure. Is there a way to customize the denewing report to months rather than days? We use a month sticker for new books, so our 3 months are due 3 calendar months from the day the sticker. Okay, so A, we don't know when you put the sticker on, unfortunately. And B, it actually is, it's 3 months ago from the day the report ran. So if we ran the report on the 30th, it would be 3 months from the 30th. The report I could switch it over 2 days, but it would do exactly the same thing as it does at 3, 6, 9, 5, 7, whatever months, right? And the report itself is not changing anything, the one that you will get with the list of items. That is just a heads up to you that as of the day the report ran, these items were created X amount of time ago. So if, for instance, your book is not quite to 3 months, you can just let it ride for a month, and then next month it's going to appear on the report again, and then you can get it at that point. So the reports that we send you from BCA are non-destructive. It's just information for you. It doesn't we don't actually touch your item until the 13th month. And we will be doing everybody in one big fell swoop, because we can't, trying to code every library to everybody's expectation, to everybody's item type. That report would change every 2 days. That script would change because people change the way they catalog things all the time. So there's just no way we could write it. So yeah, and Sarah, in your case, you might look at that item and go, it's not 3 months yet. You can just let it ride till the next month, and it'll be on that report the next month too.
This next one we wanted to be sure and mention. I know I reached out to libraries that create on order records for titles when they place the order, but the physical item hasn't arrived at the library. That way patrons can start placing holds on the on order. We want to make sure everybody that does on orders, or if you're considering doing on orders, we have a new procedure that's posted. It's also on the workflows cataloging guides page. So I'll show you on the home page. If you go to workflows, documentation and training, cataloging, guides and how-tos, it's listed here with a new bubble next to it. But we want to make sure if you're putting in on orders that we make sure when you actually get the physical item in to the library that you're cataloging it as a brand new copy, so that physical item creation date can be considered for that batch process Kendall was just describing when it ages to 13 months. What we don't want is the on order edited to the actual item when the physical item arrives, because you might have put in the on order 6 months ago. So it's already aged 6 months at that point, even though the physical item is brand new. So you may see dummy items with dummy barcodes that are on orders. That's the first step when an on order is put in. And then when the physical item arrives, as I mentioned a minute ago, it's cataloged separately, so it has its own creation date. And then the dummy on order item is discarded at that point. So don't be alarmed if you see some dummy items floating around with strange looking barcodes. Those are just on orders, making sure that we can get accurate creation dates for the RSA batch process that will take a look at items as they age 13 months. Any questions about that on order procedure? I did reach out to the specific library, so hopefully you saw my message when I reached out to you. But if not, if you have questions, we can certainly go over them if you call or email the help desk. I know we've heard from a couple of you, which is great because we know that you're trying to make sure the process makes sense on your end. The other thing, and I admit I had not thought of this until just the other day, James was working with the library and they realized in their 949 mark tags or their constant data, when they're using OCLC connection, either the client or the browser, they realized that they weren't editing the item types. They were still using the legacy new item types. So we want to make sure if you're using OCLC connection, that as you're putting in the 949 tag, you're using those new material item types. And if you have constant data saved, making sure that you edit that constant data to use those new material item types. If you continue to use the old new item types, the legacy ones like book new, new book, DVD new, you'll have items in your collection that are assigned those codes. And we don't want that since we've moved to new codes. RSA from the cataloging team end, we're going to be keeping an eye on items that are created, newly created using those legacy new item types. So we'll reach out to you if we notice your library's putting any in, just to make sure we're on the same page about using the new item types. I don't have them written yet, but I do plan to write up some instructions how to edit your constant data templates in OCLC connection to use the new item types. But if you have instructions from having completed a Bibload workshop, or before we did Bibload workshops, we did OCLC connection client training. This was probably at least 5 or 6 years ago. But if you have any existing OCLC documentation, you should have instructions in there how to edit constant data. But like I said, I'll make some specific instructions and get those out on the listserv hopefully in the next week or so. Any questions about this piece with the new item types and the constant data 949 tags? Okay. So I thought I'd launch another poll. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, thanks again for coming, Tony. All right, let's see. Okay, has your library been using the newly approved standardized item types for newly cataloged items? I realize some of you might not do new item types, and that's okay too. But from what Kendall said, I'm expecting far majority has started using these. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, 80% of you are using them and then 20% no. Okay. All right. Shut that. Okay, I think we'll switch off now presenters. Next up is Jennifer Schote talking about a new document we have.
Good afternoon. Situated here, I'm going to end up sharing my screen. Yes, there is a new document, cataloging at a glance. Let me share my screen here. Which screen are you seeing? Are you seeing the website, hopefully?
Yes.
You are? I don't see my green bar around it, so I'm it's like, that's odd. So I can't tell it's sharing. Okay, sorry about that. And I lose my slides. Okay, here we go. Yes, there's a new cheat sheet that has been created. So if you just go to our website and under workflows, documentation and training, and then cataloging and cheat sheets. It's actually just this one here right on top, the fall 2022 cataloging at a glance. And it gives a description here, includes helpful tidbits to know about RSA cataloging. These are things that you've probably heard of us talking about over the years. Just useful information, links, contacts, but it's just all in one place, which is nice. You can see at the top here, it starts talking about workflows cataloger accounts. Just a quick reminder, if you have staff changes, always let RSA know. Workflows how-to refreshers, there are links included here. Videos have been created. Are some of these videos? Yeah, some of these are videos. I think some are just the regular documentation, but these are just good how-to refreshers to have handy if you need. On here also, it's additional cataloging services. You already heard from Dr. Pamela Thomas and Nancy George earlier, but here is their contact information. And also, this cheat sheet is also going to include upcoming cataloging workshops. So each, let's see, spring and fall, this cheat sheet will be updated with the current workshops coming up. As you can see here, we have listed through the end of December for our basic workflows cataloging workshop. And then also the RSA Bibload workshop. And as always, just our contact information anytime. And I know everybody here does. If you ever have any questions at all, please contact the help desk and our information there. Was there anything else you wanted me to mention, Erica, or did I pretty much get it covered? It is a very handy cheat sheet.
Yeah, I don't think so. That you did a great job covering the main tidbits from it. You may see it if you do a site visit with Patty or Sarah. You may get a copy of this document. I know Member Services is sharing it for us when they do visits, so you may see it again. But no, thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, let's see if I can get back to the slides. Yeah, it doesn't have the green box on mine either. Is everyone
Yeah.
seeing the slides okay?
That's what I noticed too. That's why I was like, are you seeing
Okay.
this? Because usually it has the nice
Interesting.
green box.
It did when
When
I
you're sharing.
started the meeting, but
Yeah, I don't know what
apparently
happened.
now. Okay, next up is Rhonda to talk about our newly created cataloging parameters.
I was muted. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to give you a rundown of the codes that have been created since our last meeting. On this slide, you can see that we have our home location codes that we have created over since the last meeting in May. Some of those that are included is there's a biography for Spanish and an easy Spanish and something for easy reader kits. Remember that if you need any of these codes, if you think that they'd be useful for your library, to please just email the help desk and ask to have it added to your home location menu. All right, and we had 2 new item category 4s added to the list. The one that I think is really helpful was the M_ greatest, because that's for greatest hits albums. Because I know that there are some library patrons who just come in and just want the greatest hits albums. So that we thought that was a cool request. And again, if you would like either of those, please just email us and ask. And then we had 4 new item category 4 codes added, 2 of which are for award winners. So if you would like to have any of those, just email us and let us know, and we can get them added to your drop downs. Of course, we had no codes created for item types, category 1, 2, or 3. And that's it.
Thank
So
you,
just
Rhonda.
remember, if you have any requests or if you need a new home location or a new item type, to just email the help desk and ask for help, and we can work with you to do that. Thank you.
Excellent. Next up, we have Erin. She's going to just remind us about a couple documents that came out over the summer. I'm hoping everybody has looked at them since they involve the brief records, but we thought a refresher couldn't hurt since these are our new documents since our last meeting. So take it away, Erin. Uh-oh, I think you might be muted.
I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, we can hear you now. Excellent.
Okay. And does it show?
Not yet.
Oh, just a second. Okay.
There it goes.
Okay. And okay, the first part we're going to show on here. I have to put this over. my screen off. Okay, the new cataloging process for items without matching records, we started in July. And to get there is just right on the main screen. You can click on it and it does give you the main overview of the process, but there is the step-by-step is right here. It's got just a spot to click on. It will give you this sheet. So if you want to, you can print this off, or you can maybe make a link to it so that you can look at it as needed. But it's basically telling you why we started the new process for doing brief records instead of sending items into RSA. And it gives you the steps for how it is done, which is basically, attached to anything that matches in workflows. Those with OCLC connection will try to import a record if there is none. And then finally, the last thing to do is to make a brief record for your item. That way, later on, we can come back, and if there's still brief items that haven't connected to some attached to something else, we can come and upgrade them to full records. And then when we do that, we will ask for them and we will fix them within 2 weeks. And when they get sent back, you have nothing else to do with it other than to discharge it and put it on your shelf. And the other way to find that is to go to workflows, documentation, and training. It's under cataloging. And it's under guide. Oops, no, this one
You
is
think
under.
it's under
sorry.
there. It's under
I
cheat
think it's
sheets.
under there. It's under the new process. Yes, I get it confused with the other one,
This
but
is
it's
why
under the
we
new
need a
cataloging
website,
process.
right? This is why we need a new website.
Yeah. And then the next thing is the guide how to create a brief record. That you can also find by clicking on the new process for without matching, and they're right down below it under guide how to create a brief record. Or if you like to do the long way, it's under workflows, documentation and training, and cataloging. Then the guides and how-tos, it's also listed under. And it's the second one on the page. This one has 4 pages that gives you an overview of brief records and ISBNs and everything that you need to put on the brief record. It's only 4 pages long. And then after that is a lovely appendix that gives you screenshots of everything that you could pretty much want to put into the system. If you find something else that is not listed here, or you have a question, please contact the help desk. But you can even click on the side here and just get to, if you want to do a game, here's a nice screenshot, shows you what it should look like when you're done and what you have to look out for. You can scroll or click, but I think it's a great one to actually either make a link to or print out for your records, especially the first 4 pages, because that'll give you a really good overview of how to actually do a brief record. And because the incorrectly created brief records, they result in duplicate records for the same item, and makes it difficult to search for the records. And they will also fail to overlay with the matching OCLC record, which I have had a few come through that way where people have caught them, which thank you people who are sending me problems with the duplicates like that. So we get them fixed and attached right away instead of waiting till the end. Is there anything else I need to cover, Erica?
I don't think so. I think you got it all, Erin. Just
Okay.
remember too, I just thought of this detail, but if you get new staff at your library and you're training them on brief records, remember that this documentation is there, so that we can try to get as many of you creating the brief records correctly as possible. But no, I think you did a good job, Erin, covering everything. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions so far? I know some of this might be review, but review never hurts, right? Okay, we did that one. Okay, so next we're going to shift to Lisa with a reminder about the brief record videos and then a couple other tidbits too about brief record training.
So hi, everybody. So related to what Erin was talking about with how to create brief records, if you're more of a visual person and you want to see videos for how to do any of these things, let me share my screen and I could show you where you can look for that. So off on the library staff support website, that's rsanfp.org. There's two different ways that you can get to these videos about how to create brief records. So the first way is at this link for the new cataloging process. If you click on that and just scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's a section for videos, how to create a brief record. And we have videos for one with an ISBN, one with an ISSN, one with a UPC, and what to do if you don't have something with an ISBN, ISSN, or UPC. And the links are just right here. Or if you wanted to go to the RSA YouTube channel, you can go to the general quick link section, click RSA's YouTube channel. From here, if you go to playlists, click that. We've grouped all the videos together on a playlist. It's just at the bottom called the brief record cataloging level. Oh no. No one wants to hear that ad. We have all the videos over here. Again, it's for how to create a brief record with an ISBN, an ISSN, a UPC, or if there isn't any of those things, because we have had a couple libraries ask us about what to do if there's no numbers on your item. So these can be really helpful in those tricky situations. Does anybody have any questions about these videos or where to find them? Not seeing anything. Erica, do you mind sharing your screen again to pop to the next slide? Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, sure, thank you. So we have a list of the upcoming basic workflows cataloging workshops. And the reason I'm mentioning that is we have updated our workshops to reflect the new cataloging process. So huzzah. So anybody who's attending our workshops will learn, we'll see some examples and get a little bit more in-depth information about creating brief records, which is great and super fun. Just do be aware though, if you are attending like the workshop, like you do need to attend the entire workshop. You just can't really just sign up just to attend that one specific portion for the brief records. If you do have any questions about brief records, though, you could always reach out to the help desk, either by email or phone. And just like some helpful tips about the registering for these workshops, do make sure you're logged in to L2 using your L2 account. So that way you can actually see the register button that's in the upper left-hand corner. If you're logged in and don't see a register button, most likely the workshop is like full, but contact us and we could double check that just to make sure, and make sure L2 isn't having a hiccup for you. But there any questions about that? I don't see any, so I give it back to you, Erica.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. I already talked about the guide for cataloging on order items. Remember, you may see dummies for on orders, and then the actual physical item, once it comes in, it'll be cataloged separately and the dummy discarded. I think I'll just leave it at that. But I wanted to put it in this section too, since we were talking about documentation or parameters that was newly created. Let's see.
There's a question in chat, Erica.
Lori from Washington, do you recommend people signing up for the new cataloging workshops with brief record info who have already been through the cataloging workshops? I would say that's up to you. A lot of the content would be review, but there is quite a bit too about brief records that hasn't been there before. So if you think you could use instruction on brief records, attending the workshop would be a good idea. And then you get a good refresher too of content. Even the content that maybe you are familiar with, you still might pick up bits and pieces that you hadn't heard before. But I would say if you'd like brief record training, feel like you could use more instruction than just what's in the documentation or the videos, you're welcome to sign up for a workshop, but it's not required. Any other questions? If there's additional videos that you think would be helpful for brief records, please let us know. We were trying to make videos that would capture brief record scenarios that were, kind of the most common and generic. But if there's, if any of those examples in the appendix, you feel like you'd like a video, how to make one of those.
I think Erica froze. Is she? No.
It looks like Erica's offline.
Okay, sorry everybody, the power went out at the office.
Oh no.
I don't know how I didn't get kicked off, but it looks like Erica got kicked off.
Oh geez, okay.
I could see
do you
your
want me
lights
to
went off, but that's
you want me to
about
go
it.
check on her?
See here.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It looks like she's here, but she's
Yeah.
not.
Oh, there she is.
Hey, she's
Hear me
back.
okay. I don't know what is going on here. I'm even at the office, so I can't say it's something at home. Okay, am I back okay though?
Mhm.
Okay, I have no idea what happened. Everything has seemed to have disappeared on my screen. Let's see. Okay. I didn't make a slide for it, but we're actually at our time for break. So that probably was good timing. But let me launch one more poll here before we take our break. Let's see. Okay, which resource have you found more helpful for creating brief records under the new cataloging process, the guide or the videos, or both? Okay, looks like everybody's responded. Okay, good to know that the guide is by far the most helpful, but we'll keep doing videos too. Like Lisa said, we understand some are more visual learners than print-based. Yeah, okay. We'll stop sharing. There's those results. Okay, so like I said, we're at a good spot to take our break. So I'm going to set my timer to 5 minutes and pause the recording. So I will see you in a few minutes. Recording. Okay. Where did the slide go? There it is. Okay. So we will get started again and we will have Rhonda present this topic.
Hi, everyone. We thought we would start bringing up questions that we have gotten since the last meeting, and we thought would be helpful to share with others. So the question I'm going to cover is, what if I need an ISBN added to an existing record either a brief record or an OCLC. And we came up with these steps, which are now documented in the procedures for reporting cataloging issues to RSA, which can be found on our website, which I will go ahead and Erica, can you get to it? I don't have the website open.
Yes, let me see here.
Thank you.
Everything was lost when the power
My
went out here.
apologies.
Okay.
So it can be found on workflows, documentation and training, and cataloging. And then is it on the guides and how-tos?
Yes.
All right. And it is procedures for reporting cataloging issues to RSA. As you notice, it does say that it was revised today. Erica's on the ball.
It helps having an afternoon meeting. I can be productive during the morning and get a few more things done. Do you want me, Rhonda, to show this document or the slide?
You can show the document, that's fine. So I'm going to briefly go over the steps. We ask you to please send a regular email to the help desk. Use the subject line of ISBN addition. And in the email, please provide the title, your item ID attached to the record that means the ISBN addition, and to attach images of the front cover, the spine, the back cover, the title page verso, and the last numbered page. We want them attached to the email, not dropped into the email. Attachments are easier to download and look at than things that are put inside the email. Once we verify that the ISBN should be added to the record, we will reply to your email to confirm that we've added it. If we add the ISBN to the official OCLC record, and WorldCat will go ahead and import it into workflows to overlay the record that was in workflows. So that it'll be refreshed and look all nice and new with the new ISBN. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Great,
No?
Rhonda, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next up is Erin.
Hello again. Okay. If you make a mistake on a brief record, which is easily done because once you close it or save it, you cannot go back and change things. But the things you can change will be your library's call number or item information. And the way to change it is to go to call number and item maintenance wizard. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen and show how. Find it. But if you go to your call number and item wizard, I was just using this morning, so I will show. Does it all show on there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That all these on this page can be fixed by you. You made a mistake, you forgot to put in an item type or your item ID messed up or any of these, you can go back in and change. All you have to do is, whoops, this is so large, whoops, is you can change all the stuff and then just save at the bottom. And that'll take care of those items. But if you have saved your record for a brief item. And you need things changed like the ISBN, ISSN, UPCs, the author, title, general note, your email address, or if that has changed, let us, or the title control number, like if you put in your ISBN but forgot to do it on the title control page, just report them to help@rsanfp.org. Make sure you have the title for it and your item ID in the email so we can make sure we got the right one. And someone will correct it and let you know that it has been corrected. But it's the information about if you make a mistake and it says always use close button at the bottom of the screen to shut the brief record. But it's under the guide to how to create a brief record, which you can get to from the front page of the RSA website.
Any questions for Erin? Okay, let me jump back to the slides. Okay, hopefully you can see it. Okay. Next up is Lisa about monthly brief record reports. And we actually just got this question yesterday, and we had gotten it once before. So this is very timely.
Yeah, so this is a good question. So just to kind of summarize what is on the screen. So like in the past, the idea behind the brief record report, the main idea was like you can subscribe to get this report, you'd get it. And the idea was you would review it, see what items still had brief records out there. And then like, if you're like, oh, you know what? This is a brief record. I've never submitted a cataloging request for this. You could submit a cataloging request, send it to RSA. We'd create a record for you and overlay the brief record with a full level record. End of story, like everything's taken care of. And that was great. But we're no longer doing cataloging requests anymore. So, you know, you'd be wondering like, what's the point of this report? There are still some good uses that you can get out of the brief record report. So like, even though the CAT requests are gone. So like a couple things you could do is one, you could use this report to keep an eye on brief records for non-RSA interlibrary loan items. So you can see like if they've been returned to your library and see if these brief records need to be deleted or discarded before returning that item to the lending library. So you can kind of use this report to keep an eye on those things. The other thing you could do too is use this report to do cleanup on your own end. So you could use a report to search for, you know, to see if any of those brief records that you have out in your database, see if a full level record is now available either in workflows, or if you use OCLC connection, see if a full level record or any sort of record really is available in OCLC. You know, and depending on like what you're doing and what you have available at your library, if there's a record in workflows for your item, you could transfer your item to that record or ask RSA to do that for you. Or if you are an OCLC connection user, you could import that record into workflows and overlay your brief record. So now there's a full level record in the system. So those are two different things you could do with this brief record report. Getting the brief record report, it's completely optional. Same with doing the cleanup. You know, we're not like, you don't expect people to go out and do that. That's not like something we're mandating. So it is optional. If neither of these things interest you, or, you know, it's just you don't have time to do these things, you are welcome, like you can unsubscribe to this brief record report if you want to help unclog your email, if it's just something you're not taking advantage of, or, you know, that's not of use right now at your library. So you can unsubscribe. Even if you don't subscribe to the brief record report, you could always request a brief record report, just kind of, you know, when you have a moment in time that you're able to do those two, you know, things that I said were some of the uses you can use this report for. So you can either reach out to the RSA help desk and fill out a report request, and we could create the report for you. Or if you have Blue Cloud Analytic training, you can also run the report yourself and create the report for your library. If you're not subscribed to the brief record report and either of those two uses seemed of interest to you, you can still subscribe to the report as well. Just all you need to do is submit an RSA report request. And I could show you on my screen where that is located. So if you're on the library staff support website, if you go to the general quick links area, there is a section. And now I'm like blanking on where it is.
Oh, look a little bit further under the online request.
Oh,
form.
online. I'm sorry. Report request forms.
It might have been in the quick links at one point.
Nah, there's so many links. I'm with you. I can't wait for the new website where it's a little bit cleaner. But yes, on the report request forms, you could just click this link and you could go from there. So yeah, and get signed up and subscribe for it. Are there any questions about the brief record report? No? Okay, then I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I wish you all a good rest of your day.
I think I put a poll in here before we get to Jennifer. Nope, I did. I'm doing the poll later. Okay, false alarm. So we will switch to Jennifer now to talk about nonfiction call number assistance.
Okay, hello again. Just want to let everybody know that we do offer help with nonfiction call number assistance. This question did come up a little bit ago. Not everybody has the resources, I guess, to figure out a correct Dewey number sometimes, or maybe your item doesn't actually have anything. Usually a title page verso, you can get some type of clue, maybe where to classify an item. That may not always happen. So if you do need help, we are happy to help. You would just need to send an email to the help desk at help@rsanfp.org, and you would use the subject line call number help. In the body of the email, all that we really need to know for the item, in question is the title, an author, and then ISBN, ISSN, or UPC. After getting that information, we will use that information to determine a call number and reply to your email, providing the recommended call number. It's more of this is what we recommend you use. So keep that in mind. If we are unable to determine a call number based on the above information, we would ask you to send your item to the Rails East Peoria through Rails Delivery. Please only send your item if we were to ask you for it. And let's see, these instructions are also documented in the procedures for reporting cataloging issues to RSA. It was the same document that Rhonda referred to with her information. So I think it was right on top. Yep, and the same information that was on the slide and that I told you is just right here in the document. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Excellent, thank you. We are seeing that because we know as you put in brief records, like Jennifer said, you might not always know what to do for a nonfiction call number because we're not providing a record that has a call number on it, and especially if there's nothing on the item.
Yes, and that does happen. It does happen. I think I may be next. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Why are the new call numbers I enter assigned the AG/ALS PDC library code? First of all, that code is RSA. That is what that code means. It's our code, RSA. I forget, was it 2019 something? I think 2019, it was configured in workflows that everyone's default was set to this AG code and that you would need to go in and manually change it. And you can have those changes stick. I've personally noticed this is one of my responsibilities, and I've noticed it with the brief record since this new brief record process has started, that we've kind of had an increase in these, not so much libraries here, I'll say that, but just an increase in them. And it's probably because the libraries aren't noticing that the default is on AG and not their library. just to make a little bit more sense here. I'm going to share my screen. See, yes. Oh, now the line is back. That's really weird. Okay, let's see. No, it's gone. Okay. All right. Let me find my slide here. Sorry, I was switching back and forth. I lost my thing here. Okay. This goes for under the call numbers and item maintenance or add title, like I said, for the brief records. Actually, I'm going to do add title because I think I have mine set as AG. So if yours default is set to AG and you want to, you could permanently change that. You would right click on add title or call number and item maintenance, and then select properties. And you can see here, this is what I'm talking about. For any of you, like if you did the same thing, you did right click on properties, you should see your library code here. If not, probably maybe a good idea to change it. It'd be kind of a pain to manually change it every single time. I mean, this is one of the perks of this. You can set this. And let me show you. I'm just going to use Alpha Park as an example. To get it to save for future use, after you make the change, you select OK, but you actually have to close workflows out. Let's see, this will halt the workstation. Yes, and it's going to ask you, properties have been changed. Would you like to save changes? You would click yes. And then for the future, when you go back in, every time you go to add an item, either call number to item maintenance or under the add title, your library is already going to show up there. You're not going to have to manually change it each time. I think I covered that. The instructions, and I don't know, Erica, if you wanted to show it or not, but these instructions are included in the Workflows Cataloging Setup Guide.
Yeah, I could show it. Let's see here. You're right. That's so weird that the selected screen doesn't.
Yeah, it's acting really funny. I don't know why it's it's being weird, the share screen.
Okay, let's see. So I'm on the home page. And then workflows.
Yeah, you'll know better than me.
And training. Let's see, cataloging. This is a guide. It's not just a 1 or 2 page cheat sheet. And then towards the middle here, the workflows cataloging setup guide. Yeah, so notice this is quite long, but there are sections here for add title and call number and item maintenance. And notice we've even highlighted it to make sure that your library code is correct. If we notice a pattern, if your library is making lots of AG numbers, Jennifer will reach out to you just to make sure you're in good shape with your properties. We're thinking that some of these properties just aren't configured, and then when the items put in, the cataloger just isn't noticing it. It's not the correct library.
Something to point out, if you do accidentally do that, you can change that. Like Aaron had mentioned earlier, that's something that you can go back in and change yourself. It didn't used to be that way. You used to have to report that to RSA. But if you accidentally do save something, you're like, oh no, it's AG, not my library. You can change it. You don't have to report it to RSA. You don't have to, and I have seen this, add a completely new item, and that other one's in there, but then a new item has been added. And just know if this is accidentally done, it will be caught. Like I said, this is one of my things that I do monthly, just to make sure. And if something has been incorrectly cataloged under AG, that will be corrected. And any questions about that?
We have on our cataloging cheat sheets page, towards the middle of the page, there's a couple documents. There's actually a shorter document, how to change the default library if you don't want to use the clunkier setup guide. But here's a document, how to change the owning library, like Jennifer just mentioned. Just like anything else you would edit, you just go to your call number and item maintenance wizard and and change the library and save the change. So it is completely fixable on your end. The trick is just to notice that
Mhm.
it's happened. Yeah, so notice it's in there with both the actual library code. Yeah, okay, thank you. I
Okay,
can't think of
thanks.
anything else on that topic. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, here's my poll. Let's see. So would your library be interested in receiving a monthly or a one-time brief record report? Again, anonymous, so we're not going to hold anybody to it, but just trying to gauge interest. Or you may already receive one. I know we had set these up for several libraries when we had the cataloging request going, as Lisa mentioned. Okay, it looks like there is a good amount of interest in that. Okay, so just remember, report request if you'd like us to set that up for you. Okay. I thought next I give you an update on some of the known issues for the new cataloging process. These were mentioned in that July 1st listserv post when we first began the new process with the brief records. Some of this information I also shared during the August users group meeting, so it may be somewhat review. But the first thing I wanted to mention, and this is more backlog, but it is part of the new process since the new process involves the cataloging team going through the backlogged cataloging requests. But we know that some images for backlog cataloging requests that we're revisiting, we know that some of those have had their images lost. There was a server issue on our end for some of those things that it didn't happen recently. It was at least, I would say, 2 or 3 years ago, we had images lost. And then we know some of the images that have been submitted are just incomplete or unreadable. So I did want to really make sure we mention that we appreciate that you're willing to send the item if RSA asks you to, so that we can get that item cataloged on a good OCLC record and off the brief record that it's been cataloged for possibly as long as 4 years. That's how old some of the requests are in the backlog. Our backlog progress since this past July all the way through yesterday, the cataloging team is first working in the old RSA help desk. That's where those requests are that are up to 4 years old. They've closed over 500 of them. There's still just under 800 of them still open in that old help desk, and then they'll move to the new help desk where there's about 1,000 of them open. So the team is making great progress. These cataloging requests, they can take longer to process because they may need original records, upgrades in the description. So they're not quick and easy cataloging requests. Some of them are, if we find, for example, that you've withdrawn the item from the collection since you submitted the request. But the ones that do need processing, they do take longer since, like I said, they need originals or really some good improvement to the record. The plan does continue to be for the Cataloging Maintenance Center to process about 1,600 encoding level 8 and encoding level M requests. I'm hoping, I keep getting conflicting priorities, so I still haven't had a chance to get the CMC started on this project. But the good thing with the CMC is, as you heard Pam say, they're constantly doing cleanup projects. So as a new one comes along, she just throws it into the mix with what they already have going. So don't feel like those level 8 and M requests were submitted in vain. We will get those worked on by the Cataloging Maintenance Center. Hopefully we can get them started in the first quarter of 2023. Okay, more known issues. The brief record template in the Workflows Add Title Wizard, it used to have a typo in it. Of course, my workflows Yeah, my workflows needs to be reopened since I lost power. So I thought I'd just show you, you probably have already noticed this as you're putting in a brief record, but I did want to make sure you knew it's fixed because we had mentioned this when we first started the new process. Okay, so while that's firing up, we've also fixed a couple things in the RSA CAT that I'll show you next. So right here in our titles group, if we open the add title, notice it's corrected right here in its label. Even when it had the typo in the label, it did still accept the email address. So any email addresses that were entered when it had the typo in the label, it's okay. Those email addresses are still saved in there. Let's see. Okay, so UPCs on brief records. We noticed when we started this new process that brief records that had UPCs entered in their 024 fields, we noticed that they weren't searchable in the RSA CAT, and we also noticed that that UPC didn't display on the RSA CAT item details screen. With quite a bit of finagling, this is now fixed. We had Cersei Dynex help us with the indexing of the UPC in RSA CAT. And it turned out the issue was that all of the UPCs that are entered, it needs to have a first indicator of 1. So notice here in your default template, we've configured that so that it has the 1 there. The second indicator is blank. That just tells the system you're putting in a UPC number. I went back and I edited quite a few brief records that were put in without the indicator because we didn't used to have that indicator filled in there for you. So you'd have no way of knowing you needed to put it in. So I went back and edited the existing brief records to put in that first indicator 1. So we should be in good shape for brief records and UPCs in the RSA CAT. I did want to show you an example though, just to reinforce what we just mentioned. So I'm going to close this. Let's first take a look at it in here. Okay, so notice we've got a brief record for Illinois Prairie. It has UPC with that first indicator 1. So if I take that and I go to their RSA CAT, we should see that this is searchable. Okay, so if you just think like a patron and put the number in the everything search and go ahead and search for it. Notice it does generate the cover image based on that UPC. If it's a newer item, I always say that about 2000, year 2000 is the cutoff. So if it's a movie or a book or an audio recording that published recently within the past 20 or so years, it should generate a cover image if it has the ISBN, ISSN, or UPC. So this one does have a good cover image. Notice when we click on it, it does display the UPC right there in case that matters to the patron, and it was searchable. So those two issues are fortunately fixed. If you do come across a brief record with the UPC that doesn't seem searchable in here, please let me know. I think I edited all the existing brief records, but I was using kind of a tricky data tool to do it. And I'm thinking a couple of them might have slipped through the cracks. So if you happen to come across any, let me know. But like I said, I did my best to edit all of our existing brief records to have that first indicator 1. And the good news is, as I mentioned, anything new that you put in, it's going to plug in the 1 for you. So you won't have to remember to do that. Any questions about UPC and the RSA CAT? This last one is on pause. I know that Aaron has gotten a steady stream of duplicate records reported to her, and Lisa gets some items on wrong records reported. We are in the process of building online forms to report those issues to RSA. That way you don't have to remember, what do I put as the subject line in the email? What do I have to include in the email? I'd like to eventually have online forms for everything listed in that procedures for reporting cataloging issues in that guide. We know items on wrong records and duplicate records are two of the more critical issues that are reported to us. And I had mentioned back in July that there would be forms ready for those. We have created the questions for the forms. We're just stuck in the part of the process of actually getting the form built. So we do want to do online forms. I unfortunately don't have anything to show you at this point, but stay tuned. This is still a priority that we want to get these forms built to make it easier for you to report these issues to us. Any questions about the known issues? Okay. I think we're moving. Let's take a look at the agenda just to make sure we're on track. We should be moving to the OCLC section of the meeting. Yes, okay. I thought I'd just give you a preview of the upcoming RSA Bibload workshops. These are posted in L2. There'll also be listserv posts closer to the workshops. Next week, a final reminder for the October 26th workshop will go out. Additional Bibload workshops will be scheduled in 2023. I'm going to shift the frequency to every other month so I can hopefully make progress on projects like the CMC backlog. And we really haven't had too high of registration numbers for these, so I think we could do every other month safely. So we'll do February, April, June for the next round of these. Okay, OCLC Connection Client, they released on OCLC's end an updated version 3.1 back in July. Don't worry, how you use the client stays the same despite this update. Constant data 949 tags, they should transfer, that's a typo there. They should transfer to 3.1, but it's still a good idea to make a backup of them, just a simple copy paste of the templates into a Word or a text file so you have them in case they don't move over. If you use OCLC Connection Browser, you don't need to update anything. I do recommend downloading OCLC Connection Client 3.1. I put the link there. This jumps ahead a little bit to the next slide, but they're going to discontinue version 3.0 this December. They haven't decided a date for turning off the previous version 2.63, but I have a feeling that's coming in 2023. OCLC said they'll give a minimum notice of 3 months when 2.63 is turned off. So just to give you peace of mind, I would just update to 3.1 as soon as you can. It does have a couple enhancements and bug fixes. So they have revised the term master record to WorldCat record to reflect OCLC's commitment to equity, diversity, inclusion. You might have seen in your connection client, I know I've seen this, your toolbar moves around after you shut and reopen the client. It doesn't happen all the time, but this is supposed to be fixed. Sometimes this is more foreign language characters, but sometimes special characters, diacritics, maybe it's an accent or a tilde. Sometimes they display garbled with little boxes rather than the actual character. So that too is supposed to be fixed in the new 3.1. A couple known issues that are unfortunately not fixed in 3.1. You cannot maximize or restore or redisplay the connection client when it's minimized in your taskbar. So this is a perfect example. I had it open earlier. It's minimized in my bottom taskbar. I'm clicking on it. It finally opens after about 5 clicks. It should open after 1. Sometimes it doesn't open at all, and you need to right click on it and open it up using the client 3.1 option there. So unfortunately, this stuck client in the taskbar, that's still an issue. I'm hoping maybe with the next release, they can figure out what's causing that. It can be frustrating when you know it's open, but it just won't maximize on the screen. Connection Client 3.1, it's not compatible with versions of Microsoft Office that are no longer supported by Microsoft. They did not list specifically which versions of Microsoft Office, but my guess is XP, Windows 8, anything that isn't the current supported version by Microsoft Office, the Connection Client is not going to be compatible with it. Because it's a security risk. So just keep that in mind. If you have a computer that's running an old operating system, it may not be compatible with the newest client. I did put the link to the Connection Client page on OCLC site if you want more information about what they improved, where the bugs are, known issues. I tried to give you, though, the most relevant ones. A lot of the bugs and the known issues and the enhancements are things we don't need to worry about for how we use the Connection Client. But if you're interested, the link is there. Okay, so as I mentioned, OCLC is turning off 3.0 this December. They're not sure when they're turning off 2.63, but like I said, I would say sometime next year. We will post on the listserv closer to December to remind you to update your 3.0. We'll also post to the listserv once OCLC announces a specific end of life date for 2.63. If you need help with the 3.1 download, if you're not sure of your connection authorization or password, those are things OCLC support would be the best one to help you with. I didn't put it on here, but if you're wondering which version you use of the Connection Client, it's really easy to check. You just single click on the icon on your desktop and notice it says 3.1. You can also open it up and there's a help menu and there's about OCLC Connection Client. And then notice it has the version number up here, but the icon is by far the easiest way to check. Okay, any questions about the Connection Client? Okay, so I thought I would launch another poll if I can find my toolbar. There it is. Okay. Is your library already using Connection Client 3.1? Okay, so we've got some responses. It looks like we do have some upgrades in our future for several of you upgrading to the 3.1. Thank you too. If you attended a Bibload workshop recently, I know this came up as part of the Bibload workshop. Should I be using 3.0 versus 3.1? So that really helped clue me in that they had released this. Okay. OCLC recently announced that they've made more progress on encoding level updates. Remember, encoding level is that value that's at the top of the record in the fixed field values, those small boxes. So in workflows, it's just right up here in the upper left. In OCLC, it's also at the top of the record. There it goes. It won't maximize. Okay. So here it is up here, the ELVL up at the top, just to give you a visual. So as I mentioned, OCLC has been making progress shifting from using alphabetic encoding level values like K or M. They're shifting towards using what Library of Congress uses, the standard mark numeric encoding level values. Those alphabetic values are actually defined by OCLC and not used outside the OCLC cataloging community. So shifting towards what's officially used by the wider community is a good thing. In early 2021, OCLC began converting about 26 million encoding level K records, which are kind of not full, but they're not minimal. They're somewhere in between. They've been converting them using an algorithm that looks at the level of description on the bibliographic record, and that algorithm decides if it needs to be a blank, a full record, a 7, not quite full, but not quite minimal, or a 3, minimal. Just this week, OCLC announced that they have converted all of the level K records in WorldCat. So now level K is considered invalid. What does this mean for us? Anything that RSA creates, we don't use a level K, even when it was valid. We will have level K records continuing to live in workflows, and that's okay. It won't hurt anything. We're just not going to be seeing any new level Ks because those will most likely be assigned a 7. This past February, OCLC began converting about 40 million full level records with the uppercase I encoding level. They're converting those to the same standard values, blank, 7, or 3. Most of those should hopefully be blank since that's the fullest level. About 15 million of those have been converted. So OCLC is still working through those level I records. Over the summer, OCLC started working with 350 million M records. So again, they're trying to get rid of that alphabetic M value and switch it to the blank 7 or 3. I wanted to mention though that you may see a 936 field as you look at records in OCLC. This 936 field OCLC is putting on the records that used to be level M's. They're putting the 936 on to help, basically to help preserve. It was originally loaded from a batch. You don't need to worry about the 936, but please don't delete it either. Just leave the field there in case we at some point have a need for it in workflows. We won't display it in RSA Cat, but I did want to mention it because it will be a different field that you potentially could notice. OCLC is asking that all members create original records using those marked numeric values we've been talking about. So blank for full level, 7 for minimal level, 3 for abbreviated level. Our cataloging department, we will use these values as well. We catalog at the blank level whenever possible. If your library does original cataloging, I know a couple of you in this meeting do that. I'd encourage you to also use blank 7 or 3, ideally a blank, and not use those alphabetic encoding level values that are now obsolete or becoming obsolete as OCLC edits them. Any questions about encoding levels? I know that was a pretty dense slide with lots of numbers, but the main thing to remember is blank is good. 7 and 3s, you'll see. But remember, as long as there's enough information on the record where you can confirm it matches your item, go ahead and use it regardless of the encoding level. Okay, our free OCLC holdings reset. This is finally complete. It took about 3 months. Started this past May, finished in late August. The portion of the reset that was deleting holdings from OCLC, that's the part that took a lot longer than expected to finish. OCLC admitted that they had tons of these projects going at the same time for resets and only a small staff to process them. So I'm hoping if OCLC does this in the future, they might think differently about the best way to do it, much like we have with cataloging, the cataloging request. I know sometimes you learn the hard way, which I think might have happened with this OCLC reset project. We did it because it was free. Several of you asked about it. It should improve the accuracy of your WorldCat holdings. You should see a decrease in the number of interlibrary loan requests you get through WorldShare for items that you no longer own. So OCLC, they created a backup of your local holding records, most likely for periodicals, if your library does those. Some libraries don't, and that's perfectly okay. They removed existing WorldCat holdings, including the local holding records. We sent OCLC a fresh export. This is back in May when the project started, of all of our bibliographic holdings from workflows so that they could use it to set holdings in WorldCat. After that, once basically the reset was finished, all of those local holding records, if you have them, have been restored. OCLC unfortunately provided no usable reports for me to give you good statistics of what actually happened. There's text files with thousands of numbers. Some of them aren't even OCLC control numbers. So the best test of this is going to be if you're getting interlibrary loan requests still for items that you don't have anymore. That's going to be the best way to see if this works as it was supposed to. OCLC said the project successfully completed, but they really didn't provide any explanation about the reports that went with this project, which is really disappointing because I was expecting some files of records that errored out, or maybe lists of records whose holdings did successfully update, much like the monthly process has that we run. And there was none of that. So I'm admittedly disappointed with what they produced after it, but we did do it. It is finished, and hopefully you'll see the benefit with your interlibrary loan requests. We have resumed those monthly updates called OCLC Holdings Manager. We have resumed those as of this month. We wanted to make sure all the consortia, the shared catalogs in Illinois, had finished their OCLC resets before we restarted those monthly batch updates. And those have, like I said, started again as of earlier this month. Those OM updates, they basically look at everything you've cataloged in workflows, and it compares the export from the previous month, and it sees what it needs to update holdings for in OCLC and what it needs to remove holdings for. So this process will continue to run monthly. That reset was really just an extra process on top of that we hope got rid of more of those older holdings than the usual monthly process does. Any questions about the free OCLC holdings reset? I wish I had numbers to show you, but nothing usable was really shared with me. So, okay, I think the next part of the meeting, we're coming up on the end of Jennifer Williams' term as chair. So I thought, Jennifer, I would let you go through the next few slides about what being a chair involves. And then at our meeting in January, we'll take volunteers who might want to be chair or co-chair.
I can do that. So let's see. So yeah, please consider volunteering. It's an easy gig. Erica does all the work and I show up and read some slides so far. But the election will be held during the January 25th, 2023 Database Committee meeting. Responsibilities include sharing agenda ideas with RSA at least 2 weeks before the meeting, attending the full and in between Database Committee meetings live. There's been one in between meeting this year, so I don't think those come up terribly often, but they do. Full meetings are scheduled in January, May, and September. They're on the agenda. The dates and times are already there. I was putting them in my calendar as I was listening to this meeting. And then in between meetings are scheduled as necessary. During the meeting, the chair guides the agenda and contributes to any discussion. Also attends RSA users group meetings live, either remotely or in person. I feel like the group has mostly gone to remote, but maybe the occasional in person, which is lovely in the winter, like to not have to go and travel. I appreciate that.
Agreed.
Yeah. Users group meetings are scheduled in February, May, August, and November. During users group, being ready to answer any questions about the database committee meeting notes in the packet. RSA takes care of writing the notes. Erica is there and usually knows all the answers before I have to chime in. So also assists in the discussion of proposed cataloging policies that are presented to users group for approval, and keeps RSA informed if they are unable to attend any database or users group meetings live. The term starts in January 2023, runs through January 2024. No term limit. If you're interested, please email Erica.
Thank you. It is painless, I promise.
Yeah.
It's mostly so that we can get members involved somewhat in this committee. I know it probably felt like it was an RSA commercial most of this meeting. So I did want to leave just some time before we wrap up the agenda. If there's anything else that has been happening at your library in terms of cataloging, if you've noticed issues with things, if there's anything else you might want to bring up, we do have a few minutes left before we go ahead and conclude.
Can I put in a quick plug for
Sure.
If anyone's going to the ILA conference next week? I'm actually doing a session on cataloging non-traditional or adding non-traditional collections to your library. So it's called Going Off Book, Adding Non-Traditional Collections to Your Library, along with it's me and the tech services manager at the Bloomington Public Library, and a librarian who handles the teaching materials center at Milner Library at ISU. So a lot of Bloomington, the Bloomington Normal contingent will be there to talk about, budget, selection, cataloging, processing, upkeep, all that fun stuff with Library of Things items. So that is on Tuesday. So.
Yay for downstate presenters.
Yeah.
Yay.
If you're going to ILA, if you see me, please say hello.
Anybody else have anything you'd like to share? I didn't mention it during the meeting, but we do plan on a cataloging office hours, I think early December. So watch on the listserv for that. I don't have a date handy, but we do have one more office hours planned before the end of the year. If there's something that you might want to talk through. But remember, phone calls are always an option too. So if you think of something and want to talk through it, help desk emails are always welcome as well. The next database committee meeting is 25th of January. It'll be another afternoon meeting. We'll do Zoom only. I talked to Kendall and we just don't feel there's enough interest in in-person meetings. If that happens to change, I certainly would be willing to revisit it. But remember, we did that poll last time and there just wasn't much interest in doing in person. So chime in now if you really want an in-person meeting so that we can revisit it. But at this point, We had planned to only do it in Zoom. Once registration is open, we will post on the listserv. I have all the Zoom links created for the workshops. I just need to get them on L2. So when Rhonda, our note taker, announces the notes on the RSA listserv, she'll share the links to the upcoming meetings so that you can go ahead and register and get them on your calendar if you'd like to. So here's the additional meetings coming up in May and September as well. This way we've got them saved before the new year really starts to fill up like it always does. Yeah, I think with that, I can't think of anything else. One last chance if there's anything that you can think of that you might want to share or ask. Okay, thank you again for coming. Look on the listserv, hopefully in the next couple weeks for notes, recording, slides. Yeah, we'll get all the materials out in case you want to review the meeting. Sure, I'll put the dates up again. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Everyone have a great holiday season and we'll see you in January. Take care. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to turn off the recording.
Oh, thank you. Got it. Thanks, Erin. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.